In Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7, we read these words, very familiar ones, often recited at Christmas time. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. On the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Now this is an election year, and emotions on two sides of the fence are riding very high. On one side, we have a push for a progressive socialist agenda, and on the other, a conservative free market agenda. And I think there is much fear on both sides for what will happen depending on which side takes control. The progressive side wants moral openness and that moves sexual norms away from biblical absolutes. The thought is that truth is not absolute and unchanging, but is morphing over time based on cultural changes. And they want to eliminate poverty by eliminating the differences between the classes. The conservative side sees great problems with these philosophies. First, they see that socialism has never truly worked in other countries, and many countries that have tried it are turning away from such a system. And second, the conservative side sees the unchanging moral norms as a slippery slope that will lead to total debauchery. However, the greatest fear that is, if the progressives take control of the three branches of government, is that this will lead to a totalitarian regime. And in this scenario, the regime could remove the guarantees of our Constitution and result in the removal of freedoms that are guaranteed therein. So this seems to be a critical voting year. Now, shall we fear what might happen on either side? That's a good question. I would say not. Consider what Paul wrote for a second regarding the government. He said, in Romans we read it, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. Listen what he says, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. It's hard to explain why sometimes bad and strange governments get in control, and yet God somehow is sovereign over government, and that's what he's saying. No government is put in a place that escapes the sovereign oversight of God. This does not mean that all governments will not be held to an account. It also does not mean that we should remove ourselves from involvement in human government. But regardless of how our election works out this year, we must trust that God is in control and that there is a purpose in it, even if we must endure the loss of rights guaranteed under the Constitution. However, there is good news for all who truly believe in Jesus. This is what Isaiah speaks of here. There is a day coming when the Messianic reign will begin, and all who believe will enjoy the perfection of his government. It shall be established, and with it we will experience a reign of peace, perfect justice, and righteousness. Isaiah wrote about it, and he says of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end, and that there would be justice and righteousness forevermore. So be of good cheer. If you have believed in Jesus for eternal life, you will have a place in this kingdom. For now, though, stand firm on the truth of God's unchanging word. Hold dear to it. Hold it to your heart. Proclaim it and live by it by faith. God is in control, and he does have a plan in all of this.